Joining us now, Congressman Dan Bishop from House Judiciary, along with Molly Hemingway, great writer, editor-in-chief of The Federalist and Fox News contributor. Thank you so much for spending time with us and joining us. Congressman, first to you. How will the protests this weekend turn out the vote for Democrats in the midterms? Police are now investigating who set on fire the headquarters of the pro-life group in Madison, Wisconsin. It was vandalized too, and someone threw a Molotov cocktail in it. And we've got threats to burn down a New York City church as well.
Liz, I wouldn't think that's helpful to anyone. It's amazing. I thought the lesson of January 6th was we were all opposed. I mean, certainly Republicans all opposed violence on Capitol Hill, violence like that in Wisconsin. You know, I also remember being in front of in the Judiciary Committee with the Attorney General there, having called out FBI agents across the country to talk about parents intimidating and harassing school boards. Well, what about intimidating and harassing justices? I'm not sure what's up here, but I'm not sure there's consistency of thought.
What the congressman is saying, Molly, is this. Wasn't this also, I think the congressman is also saying, wasn't this supposed to be the unifying Biden presidency?
Oh, it's just amazing that Joe Biden has still not said anything about these protests done by his supporters, which are attacks on Supreme Court justices' houses, threats made against them, threats against pro-life centers, violence at churches. And he has not called them out, specifically not called them out by name, and he doesn't seem to indicate any plans to do so. Jen Psaki did sort of try to walk back from her support of these threats and attacks on these institutions to saying, well, technically you shouldn't break the law. But you're not seeing this kind of pushback that you would really expect of responsible people. And why would you? Because, of course, Chuck Schumer himself has threatened Justices Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. He did that on the steps of the Supreme Court in the spring of 2020. Demand Justice, which is one of these groups that spent like $1 billion to get Joe Biden elected and worked hard on the nomination of the latest justice to be confirmed. They're not decrying this at all. They're supporting these attacks and protests. So it's very bad that such high-level people are supporting these threats against some of our most important institutions.
Yeah, pick up what Molly just said, that we don't have high-level Democrats condemning what's going on. I mean, we went through the 2020 riots, right, Congressman, where it wasn't about petitioning the court and using reason and logic for your arguments. It was about burning down the courts.
That's right. And, to Molly's point, the first words from the podium at the White House were, let's face it, they were a tacit endorsement of the idea of going to the homes of justices to intimidate them. That's an extraordinary position for the White House podium or press room to take for any moment. And I think it's unforgivable. And it's the wrong kind of leadership once again from this White House.
Historically, only about 1 out of 7 younger voters turn out to vote in the midterm years. So Molly, it's still out there whether or not Democrats can actually use Roe v. Wade to get younger voters out. I mean, how can they're going to try to convince voters to forget they're paying double for a gallon of gas and more at the grocery store? Also get them to forget about violent crime and Biden's border crisis?
Well, also, there's just the truth that the people who tend to be most excited by the topic of abortion and vote on it are actually pro-life. So the idea that the Supreme Court finally returning abortion jurisprudence or returning abortion debates to the people and their elected representatives, that's actually a very popular position. That's something that the country has been working toward and fighting very hard for decades. So politically, there's an advantage to, and it gives excitement. I don't think conservative voters are used to getting many wins, and getting a win at a time like this when they're already very excited to vote for other reasons could be it could make things quite important. But as you note, I think a lot of voters are just wondering about inflation. They're wondering about prices, whether they can afford their groceries and gas prices, and to be told that they should instead care about this issue where they're actually on a different side anyway, I don't think that's going to work very well.
Yeah, Gallup polls show voters care most about the economy. Let's listen to Senator Ron Johnson on this. Let's cue up former President Trump on this. And if we can, let's put Senator Ted Cruz at the back end of the soundbite montage. Watch this.
They're really not jobs being created, they're jobs being filled. I don't know the exact number, but somewhere between 5 and 10 or 11 million jobs that are just unfilled.
Under Biden, 4 million people have not returned to the labor force. Real wages have declined 12 months in a row, and the economy sucks.
Putting socialists in charge of the economy is really bad for the economy, and it's really bad for working men and women. It means galloping inflation. The cost of everything goes up. Cost of electricity, the cost of lumber, the cost of rent, the cost of buying your home, the cost of buying a car, and as we all know, the cost of gasoline. Well, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he just laughs away wearing his tuxedo. Because you know what? Biden doesn't pay for the fuel on Air Force One. Nancy Pelosi doesn't pay for the fuel on the private jet that takes her back and forth to San Francisco. John Kerry doesn't pay for the fuel on his private jet as he travels the world lecturing everyone that they need to consume less.
And Congressman, there's also this, Biden's small business budget, right, for the Small Business Administration. It talks about climate change, I think, more than 20 times. It makes no mention of inflation.
That's exactly right, Liz. What you're seeing in the montage you played, and that fact is something we've seen over and over again. Biden is out of touch and clueless. Remember when inflation was transitory? Remember his State of the Union address when he said the way to resolve inflation is just don't have your costs go up? I talked to a landscape business owner today who talked about his fuel costs being up 2.5 times and so forth. It's just that people are getting crushed and they're fed up.
Molly, final word.
Well, I just think inflation is the biggest political threat to Democrats because it's the one thing that can't be spun away. People know that prices are rising because they deal with it every day at the grocery store, every day at the gas pump, and no amount of media cover-up or spin can hide that fact.
Congressman Bishop, Molly Hemingway, you guys are terrific. Thanks for joining us.